Hello, friends. I am Michael Kingswood. I write fiction for fun and profit. I'm also a Star Trek fan, and to make up for my sins of not finishing Voyager and Enterprise, I am watching them now, and I am talking to you about it. Notes that I have collected as I'm going through episode by episode. Right now, we're doing Enterprise. Right now, we're doing Voyager. I mean, when we're done with Voyager, we'll do Enterprise, and then people like what I'm doing, maybe we'll go back for the earlier ones. But yeah, I have been talking through up through episode 5 of season 1 of Voyager. Today we're doing episode 6, Eye of the Needle. And not going to bury the lead. This was a great episode. Liked it a lot. I've previously had ups and downs with the first few episodes in Voyager, but this one was great. It was great because just like the previous episode, the problem of the week in the previous episode was a lot more technically and nitty gritty stuff, whereas this one is less strenuous in that sense, but it also allows for a lot more character, and we got a lot of character development, good character moments in this episode, and it was great. I liked it a lot. Watched it with my son, and he was like, "Man, that was fun." And so, hey, you've got a Zoomer opinion on it too. But let's go through it here. A quick synopsis. And like of the previous times, I'm not going to show scenes or do the standard reaction stuff because I don't want to deal with the editing and copyright stuff. And this is more me talking about what I saw from a character and storytelling point of view. So if you're in for that, stick around. If you're not, stick around anyway. Anyway, so quick synopsis. So they're going through space. They're trying to find their way home, of course. And it looks like they didn't follow through with the final scene of the last episode. The last episode, they healed the space creature and they were off there. There was a planet, a few light years away that they're going to try to find fuel with. Well, that's not mentioned here. Maybe that'll be in the next one, or maybe it's just an episodic thing, so they're not going to talk about it again. Whatever. So they're going through, and they detect what they think might be a wormhole. Harry Kim is analyzing it. It's like, hey, this might be a wormhole. And they're like, a wormhole? Well, cool. Maybe we can get back to the Alpha Quadrant. That'll be great. I was like, cool. We get over there. They're checking it out. And Tom's like, if it is a wormhole, let's call it the Harry Kim wormhole. It's like, oh, that's funny. They get the wormhole. It's way too small for the ship to go through, but they can fit a probe through it. So they send the probe through. It gets stuck in the middle of the wormhole, but they're thinking, oh, maybe it'll unjam itself. I don't know. We'll see. And but as they're monitoring, it looks like somebody's scanning the probe from the other side. So like, holy cow! Well, they figure out a way to interface their communication system with the probe, and it takes them a while, but eventually they're able to make contact with a ship that doesn't believe them when they say who they are and where they're from. Uh, but they manage to interpolate the telemetry, in fact, and find out that yes, this is in fact in the Alpha Quadrant, but it's a Romulan ship, and no wonder they don't believe them, right? Because Romulans. I mean, at this point, the Federation and the Romulan Empire are allies for the Dominion War, if I'm remembering my timeline correctly. But still, it's like there's allies and then there's close friends, right? They're allied for the war. They're not exactly trusting each other, right? And the Romulans always do shady stuff. So okay, um, but they've maintained contact again, and the captain has a great conversation with the Romulan captain, and he figures out how to do a picture picture to picture transmission, so he can decide if they're telling the truth or not. Burns out, it works. They're able to talk. It's great, and he's seems like he's willing to help, but of course they can't get through. But they think, hey, maybe we can interface the transporters with this signal carrier wave and transport us all through there. So they transport a test shape over, and it works. The Romulan captain is amazed. He's like, this is astounding that you're able to do this. And he previously said he didn't recognize their ship from the bridge. And like, well, it's a new ship. It's not classified. And he's like, well, I've been out of touch for a while. Maybe I didn't get an intel update. Right. But they are going through, they're trying to figure out, okay, we've transported that one thing over there successfully. Let's beam the crew over." And of course, he's like, "Can't authorize you to come on my ship." Well, what are we going to do? He's like, "I will volunteer to transport to your ship. And if it works, I'll get a troop ship here and we can get you all back safely." It's like, "Oh, okay, that works." And they beam him over. Everybody's happy. It works. Gets there. He's astounded. They're astounded. They're happy. Yeah, we're going to get to go home. But it turns out it's a wormhole in space and time, and he's from 20 years in the past. So before the Romulans showed themselves again at the end of season 1 of Next Generation. So obviously not on good terms with the Federation. And they talk about, well, maybe we should go back anyway. But it's like there'd be too much, you know, issues with the continuity of space time, and they've impacted on the quadrant where they are, and that would undo that. And it's like, well, shoot, well, why don't you take the messages home with that we're recording for our families home with you and transmit them? He's like, yes, I'll do that for you. I hope you make it back. When you get back, I'll probably be old, but come contact me because we've kind of become friends with the captain. I'm the captain. He beams back, and after he beams back, Tuvok reveals that he looked him up, and the captain actually died 4 years before Voyager went on their mission. And they're like, well, maybe he gave the messages to the Romulan High Command and they'll transmit them, but they can't know. And everybody's kind of depressed. But it's like, well, okay, we're pushing on, trying to get home another way. And that's where the episode leaves off. So ups and downs, but a lot of good character stuff in this. And the premise is very cool too. And the way they executed it is cool as well. I said before, I'm not a big fan of time travel, unless it's done really well, which one episode so far this season rather, has not done well. But this one did well because it wasn't a real time. It was sort of time travel-y, but not really, because it's just they're not going back in time and influencing stuff. It's just a quirk of, the wormhole. Yeah, so that's what happens there, and it's kind of a bummer at the end. But of course, you kind of knew they weren't going to get back already because it's only episode 6. Although my DVD labels it 7 because they counted the first episode as 2 because it was a 2-parter. That was, I don't remember if the first episode was played all together. I think it was, but on the DVD at least it counts as 2. But anyway, but yeah, I like how they dealt with the time issue, and I like how it's not really a bait and switch because you think they might be able to get home, but then the disappointment at the end is done really well because everybody's hopes are up. They're like, yay! And then it's like, oh, son of a bitch. And yes, that was done well. But the character stuff is what was really best about this episode. So let's go through them all. Tom doesn't get a whole lot to do in this one. He's the helm guy, and he has the fun little quip at the beginning. Let's name this wormhole after Harry Kim because he's the one who discovered it. And that's cool if it works. And the is one other thing at the end when they discover the time difference, and Harry wants to go back anyway. And Tom's like, Harry, you'd be 2 years old. You're going back to the time when you were 2 years old. And Harry's like, ugh. And then I'm thinking like, yeah, like I've been saying, all my commentary so far, he's not a senior officer. Stop being a senior officer. He's 22 years old. He's right out of the academy. He's not a senior officer. I mean, he's in the operations seat, and he got put in the operations seat immediately. But a lot of the other department heads got killed in the first episode. So it seems like he's sort of working for Tuvok, but not really. Brand new ensign is not made a department head on a ship, any ship, and that continues to make me, from my naval officer experience, a little bit like, come on, man. If they had shown the operations guy getting killed in the first episode and Harry having to step up to fill the ops officer's shoes, that'd be one thing, but they didn't. But oh well. Let's see. Harry has a couple of decent moments. He's homesick for mom and dad, and understandably, he doesn't mention his girl. But that's cool. But and then a little bit with Balana. And again, we we see a little bit of Alana's insecurity here because she's talking about her parents and how her dad and mom separated when she was a kid. He went back to Earth, and she hasn't heard from him in ages. And she thinks her mom's on Konos, the thing on Homeworld, but they didn't get along. She hasn't talked to them, so she's like, all my friends were in the Maquis. They're all on this ship. Nobody cares if I live or die back home. And I'm was when she said that to Harry, I was like, flashing back to was the second episode when she and Janeway were talking, and she was talking about how she wasn't gonna make. She knew she wasn't gonna make it in the academy, and nobody liked her, so that's why she quit. And Janeway pointed out all the professors who said great things about her in the record and hoped that she would come back, and she was great, and everybody actually thought well of her. Her insecurity got the best of her, and that's what caused her to quit then. And I think it's the same thing here with her parents now. Maybe we'll get more of that later. I don't know. We'll see. Let's see. Other big character stuff. Tuvok is not a whole lot with him. He's doing the Vulcan thing, and he's providing key insights. That's cool. And Chakotay is basically just there, which is disappointing because I like him. Kess, and there's no Neelix at all in this one, which Neelix is always fun, but well, I guess he was busy cooking. Cass is an interesting one in this one because she kind of bridges the gap in multiple parts of this episode, and it's mostly her and the doc, but also her and the captain. The doc, you always love the hollow doc because his gruff exterior, and we'll just talk about him and Cass together here on this one because first time we see them, she's helping Doc treat the lieutenant who hurt himself working out, and he's Doc's quizzing her, and looks like he's got a hairline fracture in his wrist, and Doc's treating him. But the lieutenant, like everybody else, being very rude to the Doc, talking to Kess, not to him. And Kess, you can see, is getting irritated by that the whole time. And when he's fixed up, he thanks Kess, doesn't say a word to the Doc, and leaves. And Kess is like, man, why is everybody always rude to you? They're always that way. Whatever. It's like, do you need anything? And you can tell she's upset. She goes to see Janeway, and the conversation with her and Janeway is pretty awesome because the way she couches it, hey, if a member of your crew is not being taken care of, not getting what they need, would you be upset by that? And Janeway immediately thinks it's her and Neelix who aren't getting it. She's like, no, it's the Doc, and Janeway's like, what, the Doc? Because she, like everybody else, is like, it's just a computer program, just a hologram, whatever. And and in fact, she says that. It's like, look, I mean, he's just a hologram. And Cass is like, he can think, he can learn, he has feelings of a sort. I mean, and Janeway pushes back, and then Cass, I forget exactly what she said. It was basically like, look, if, you know, this, this is are you sure this guy isn't alive? If he's alive, shouldn't you be taking care of him? And Janeway is like, huh, you see that? Huh. We'll get back to that later. And then later on, towards the end of the episode, Cass is back with the Doc, treating the same lieutenant again. And this time, after the Doc has talked to Janeway, we'll talk about the discussion a little bit. Doc stands up and says, I'm the medical officer. You talk to me, and demanding respect. And the guy's like, oh, yes, sorry, sir. Thank you, sir. And immediately treats him like a person of the crew. It's like, oh, well, that's great. And Cass is, and Doc is very impressed with Cass and was like, hey, and she's like, hey, you must have an eidetic memory. And she's like, yeah, well, I've been studying a lot. It's like, you should go to medical school. And she's like, well, maybe I would. Actually, she was saying, maybe I'll go to medical school when we get back. And he's like, well, might be a while. And then this is another thing that I jumped ahead on. I jumped past this. But after they've figured out the transporting thing, they think they have the transporting thing figured out. She and Doc are talking, and and she's like, we're all getting out of here. And you can see he kind of gets a little crestfallen. It's like, oh, I'll make sure they shut me off before they go. Because you think about it, they're leaving. If the transporter thing actually worked and they weren't going to go 20 years back in time, they would be leaving the ship completely. And what are you going to do with the ship, right? You can't just leave the ship there. if it's true what Neelix says that this is the most capable ship in 100 light years, it's full of Federation technology. They can't just leave the ship, right? So I was thinking, well, they clearly they would, the last captain would be the last one off. She'd, set the self-destruct, scuttle the ship, right? That would be the proper thing to do, right? If you're in that situation, and of course, you can't take Doc with them, and you could tell that he's like, "Well, have them shut down my program. It's cool." But you could from this expression, subtle acting on this character's part, he's like, you can tell that he, even though he's just a computer program and a hologram, he feels sad about that in a weird way. And so that was great with the two of them. One other thing fun about Cass is my suspicions about her are correct. In that, when she sits down with Janeway asks her if she wants something to drink. She says, "Yeah, I'll have this." I forget what it was, a drink. "Yes, Tom Harris showed me this." It's like, she is banging Tom. I knew it. I knew it. She, she's cheating on Neelix. Standing by that, even though Star Trek writers would never do that. That's what I'm saying. Anyway, other character stuff. Let's see. I guess the rest really is Janeway and the Romulan captain. And I gotta say, I've had my quibbles. I've had some bad things to say about Janeway in previous episodes, but she's awesome in this one. Um, she's enthusiastic. She's personable. Interacting with crew comes in and when Balana comes in and wants to tell her about the transporter thing, I initially thought Balana was going to be like, "Please, for the love of God, I have to contact my parents." Like carrying on that previous discussion she had with Harry. But no, she's excited about the transporter thing. And Janeway's immediately like, "Yes, we're doing it." In fact, every time somebody has a good idea, we're doing it. Let's do it. Let's try it. Boom, boom, boom. She's encouraging and at the same time laying down guidance, being a good leader, encouraging your personnel, but also giving good direction, which is great. But yeah, so I was impressed with her command style in this one. But it was also kind of nice little moment with her. She's looking at the picture, missing her dog and her boyfriend too. But in the first episode, clearly the dog was her priority. Not really. She loves them both, but it's a great little moment there. But her interaction with the Romulan captain is cool because they have this great. She's being very open and very cordial and please leave us, please. And then when they have the conversation with her in her quarters, they uh they woke her up from bed. She's in her nightgown. She's talking, just her. In reality, the actress is monologuing, and probably somebody offset is speaking the line back. But the Romulan captain is dubbed over later, but just like giving and giving and giving, and for the love of God, and being exceptionally open and exceptionally just open, and at the same time not begging, right? And that scene with her and the Romulan captain in the quarters was just her. It's great, well acted, well done. I liked it a lot. Um, Later on, when they meet face to face, we see the Romulan captain, and this guy who was playing him was, I thought he was great. When they're talking about he's been at space for a year, and do you have any kids? He's very subtle acting, but he's sort of small little facial twerks. He's like he's the Romulan guy. I have to be the stoic Romulan guy. I'm doing, I'm carrying the line for my government. But at the same time, you can see he's like, yes, I miss my family. He says it, but he doesn't have to say it because of the way he's acting. You can see it. It's like you see that he's getting empathy, and he's breaking through the Romulan shell visibly as much as in the dialogue. Um, it's a little cheesy when they beam the transporter, the initial test shape over with him, because you can tell he's just looking at nothing while they're doing the special effects, which are pretty decent actually. The one thing you can say about Voyager is, it's when it was made. It's obviously the special effects are much better than TNG and certainly TOS, but it's done really well. I like the transporter effects a lot, but he picks the thing up. It's like, this is remarkable. Congratulations on this amazing thing you've been able to do, which he was amazing space time uh, innovation, which we learn later is amazing because it's 20 years in the past, happened 20 years in the future from his perspective. So you have to wonder how much of a boost did this interaction with Voyager give the Romulan Empire back in the pre Next Generation time frame. Interesting. Anyway, but then he does this thing. He's like, can't allow you beam anybody over here, but I will volunteer to beam to you. It's like he just got through talking about how he hasn't seen his family in a year, and it's like, they beamed a test shape over. They haven't tried to beam anything living over, but he's going to go to them. And even if they managed to get him over there, there's no guarantee he'd be able to get back. So this dude is taking one hell of a risk. I mean, the Romulans don't trust the Federation, but I think they also know the Federation is not as scheming, if that makes any sense. A little more straightforward than they are. But then again, this is, again, from his perspective, before they reestablish contact at the end of the Next Generation. So who knows what they think? I mean, they have the records from their original series interactions and their, the original Kittimer Treaty with in Star Trek Six and whatever happened between then and Next Generation. There was some interaction, but then they kind of closed themselves off for a while. Didn't have contact. So, so I know something about how the Federation works, but do they assume that they are as straightforward as the Federation tends to be now when they aren't having Section 31 do stuff? I don't know. It's a great leap of faith that the Janeway's people are going to follow through on their end, and just a great leap of faith that it's going to work at all. I mean, you could tell from the previous scene with him, you can tell he is desperately missing his family. His kid was born. His kid is 7 months old. He's been gone. He missed his kid's birth. His wife and kid are back on Romulus. And he immediately volunteers to go over to try to help. And it's like, dude, that guy is a stand-up guy. I like him a lot. I like how the actor did his role a lot. That guy was great. Um, yeah, can't say enough good about that guy. Uh, and you could see when they figure out the time issue, you can kind of see him wilt a little bit, like, "Son of a bitch, I wanted to help, and he can't." And they give him the message, and he's taking it solemnly. He's like, when he says, "Hey, I'll be an old man when you get back. If you do, please come look me up because I want to know that you guys are okay." Which, we've known a lot of Romulans over the years, but this guy stands out as being one of the cooler in terms of just great people that that I've seen. I like him a lot. He's great. Um, it's awesome. The other good part that Janeway had was when she's talking to the doc, because after she talks to Cass, she's like, She goes see the doc, and he's not active. He turns him on. She turns him on, and he's all annoyed because the previous person shut him off while he was in the middle of doing some work. And the person before that didn't bother to shut him off at all. He's like, these people are annoying me. It's like, well, she's basically is like, hey, well, what do you need? Can we, and what do you need? What do you want? And he's like, what? What do you mean? He's like, well, you were designed to be just an emergency situation, but now you're our doctor. He's like, are you going to reprogram me? She's like, well, no, I don't think so. I mean, what do you need? And he's like, flummoxed for a bit. And then he's like, oh, well, here's all these things I would like for the sick bay that I don't have. And she's like, I want you to be part of the crew. I want you to think like you're part of the crew. And I want our crew to start treating you like part of the crew. It's like, and you can tell this is like kind of blowing his mind a bit. And he's like, oh, okay. And that's what prompts him to demand respect from the lieutenant at the end. And it's very not touching, it's kind of interesting at the end when Cass is leaving in one of the final scenes. And Cass like Doc's like, I do want one thing. She's like, what? It's like, I would like to have a name. And that's pretty much how it leaves it with him. And it's like, huh. And it's something that, you know, I'm sure nobody had considered before. He's just the EMH, the medical hologram. And nobody had been paying this guy any respect or due. And really, why should them? Why should they think to? He's just a computer program. But like Data, he's sort of appearing to be more than just that. And it took Cass to start getting the captain thinking that way, and to get him start thinking that way. And so, yeah, so he's thinking himself as part of the crew, and you have Cass to thank for that. And Tom has Cass to thank for having some good fun playtime. Anyway, so yeah, a lot of great stuff in this. Liked it a lot. Yeah, I think so far of this, well, season, obviously, but the entire show so far, I would have to say this is probably my favorite one. Last one with the star creature that they were healing was good. The phage was pretty decent. The first one was good. The two and three were kind of crappy, but this one was great. Lots of great character stuff, and the best part about the problem of the week was it directly related to their problem of trying to get home and did it in a way that drew more character stuff out. I just wish there had been more from Tom and Chakotay. And Tuvok had moments, but they were mostly technical moments. It's not, he's still mostly just technical guy, and I'm sure we'll get more from him in the future. But yeah, overall, it's great stuff. I liked it a lot. Oh, tell me what you guys thought. I think this is going to be a good time with this show. I know my son's liking it, and this is great because I've tried to get him to like Star Trek in the past, but he has never. He's been sitting down with me and watching it. It's like, oh, I like this one. It's like, all right, great. We're gonna watch the rest together. It's gonna be good, and which is cool. So yeah, let me know what you think down in the comments if you have anything to say. Um, I really have no storytelling quibbles about this. Like I said, most of the time I'm not a big time travel fan, but since this was only like a time jumpy kind of thing, and it worked great. One quibble I would have is Chakotay's thing. When Harry's like, "Hey, let's just go back anyway," and Tom does this thing about how old he would be. Chakotay's like, "Well, we can't do that. We've been here in the sector for so long. We've had so much impact on it. Everything we did would be undone. That would be bad." Actually, no, because no, that's not what it was. They decided they couldn't go back, and the Romulan captain was saying, "Hey, well, I'll transmit a message to the Federation, tell them to not send you on the mission." Chakotay's like, "We can't do that because we've had so much, impact on the quadrant here so far." But I mean, we really haven't. We really done. They with the planet that got blown up and then didn't got unblown up through the time travel thing. That whole thing happened because they were there. If they hadn't been there at all, the accident would have happened to begin with. The phage thing, if they had done what they should have done and gone and exterminated that species of parasitic scumbags, then they could say they had a positive impact on the quadrant, but they didn't do that. Um, Episode 2 was just them doing their drama, and the first episode didn't really have only impact they had was the Okampa and the what was the other people. They had the little conflict with the guardian at the caretaker. The caretaker was dying anyway, and he sealed off the Okampas like he was gonna do, and If they hadn't been there, he would just sealed off the Okampas anyway. So, really, the only impact on not sending Voyager on that mission would have been that the Maquis would have been stranded here alone. Yeah, so so Chakotay's reasoning on why they shouldn't go back is kind of BS. In reality, it's like, hey, don't do that. I'll be stuck here. Now, I'm not saying Chakotay is, that self-centered. He's not. He's a stand-up guy. But the justification for him saying why they shouldn't have the Romulan guy tell the Federation not to send them, it doesn't hold water with what's happened in the series so far. And can we really trust the Romulans would do that? I mean, maybe that captain would, but would Romulan High Command? Who knows? Um, but that's the one quibble I've got. It's like that's kind of a cheese ball, cheese ball thing to suggest. Oh yes, we've had so much impact here. No, you haven't. No, you haven't. Oh, whatever. It's all good. Anyway, yeah, great episode. Liked it a lot. Looking forward to the next one, which we will be covering here in a few days here on the channel, which you should come back for and check out because we like to have fun. If you want to have more fun, go check out some of my books, which are over here at michaelkingswood.com/store. You see, I've got a whole bunch of good stuff up here. You can get them directly from me. I make more money that way. But if you prefer to go through all the various retail channels, michaelkingswood.com/books2, read the number 2 will get you over here to this site, which you can pick on a title that you like, click on it, and it will take you to the retailer that you like best, where you can get it. The one that you want, and check it out. My most recent novel here is Warfare Qualified. It's one over my shoulder. It's a military science fiction inspired by my time in 20 years in the U.S. Navy as a submarine officer. Lots of people have been reading it. I mean, not lots. I mean, I've got a few hundred copies sold, 4.8 on Amazon. I finally have a review less than 5 stars. I don't trust anything that only has 5-star reviews, and so now it's like, hey, cool, I've got one that's less than 5 stars. Yes, but people like it. It's fun. It's good time, and we're working on the sequel. In fact, we'll be putting out a collection of short stories based on the same universe here in a few weeks after I get it to people who backed me on Kickstarter for it. And so, yeah, check out my stuff. It's good. You'll like it. I write fiction. I like fiction. I write fantasy, mystery, and science fiction. Almost in that order. More it's like fantasy, but most in that order, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Most of my stuff is shorter works. I have 10 novels and a whole bunch of other stuff that you can check out. You'll have fun with it. You can also, of course, come back here. Make sure you're subscribed so you know when. We'll talk more Voyager. I also share stories of mine on Saturdays. Try to do every Saturday. I don't always make it just because of life events. And I've talked about writing and other things and just things that come up. So if you dig me, dig what I'm doing, come back and check out some more. I'll see you then. Until that happens, don't do anything I wouldn't do.